days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about the biggest X factors on the defensive side of the football.
That's right. Last episode, Ant, offensive X factors. Now, defensive X factors. And in a shocking turn of events, Ant, a lot harder. This one's tougher.
Yeah.
This one's way tougher. And the reason it's way tougher is there's more names, there's more pieces, there's more guys who have demonstrated that they're not just capable, Ant. They're impressive. They're impressively sound. They're solid. They've been continuing to develop, and now they're all. I mean, it feels like the entire first 11 on the defensive side could potentially break out and have huge seasons, and that could mean some guys sneaking up and surprising people in terms of X factor status and X factor potential. So, Cutback crew, let's know in the comment section right now who you think the biggest X factor is, and let's see if we have any similarities here in terms of what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And then make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. And Ant, X factor on the defensive side of the ball, who is it?
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of options, and I started going through, running through them. Is it Bosa? Is it Fred Warner? Could it be Arik Armstead because he's sliding inside? Could it be Javon Kinlaw because he's going to be healthy hopefully this year? Could it be Jimmy Ward? And ultimately what I landed on is it's actually Charvarius Ward, because Charvarius Ward, the new signing, is the guy that I believe is the biggest X factor, because we've seen the 49ers defense and defensive line be able to operate at a high level without the cornerbacks, healthy. I mean, last year Emmanuel Moseley was healthy for some of the season, but not the entire season. He had himself a fantastic season, but Jason Verrett wasn't healthy. So we haven't got to see a full array of cornerbacks. Now that we have Charvarius Ward, he's going to be able to go in there and match up against ones, which is going to free up other players to be able to do other things. They're not, 49ers are not going to have to rely on having a safety over the top of Charvarius Ward, something they had to do with Ambry Thomas, Deommodore Lenoir, and Josh Norman. I mean, geez. But I think that when it comes down to it, Ward's going to give the 49ers so much more freedom on defense. And that freedom is going to allow other players to make big-time plays. And we've been talking about this for a long time. In fact, I think all of the 49ers empires have been talking about it a long time, is the fact that 49ers need to create more turnovers. And I think the fact that Ward being out there, being able to take away, hopefully, a number one receiver, is going to give DeMeco Ryans more opportunities to be aggressive. Going to give other players opportunities to jump routes, to make plays, to come in late and hit that ball out with a peanut punch. I think that him alone is going to make a big difference, not to mention that's also going to give the defensive line an extra second, maybe an extra 2 seconds to get after the quarterback. That is the difference between all the hurries that they always get. What do we always hear about Armstead? He gets so many hurries. Well, those hurries could turn into quarterback hits and sacks if Charvarius Ward is able to lock down one side of the field, and then Emmanuel Moseley and Jason Verrett are able to handle the other side.
Ooh, boy, oh boy. You had to go with Charvarius Ward. You just did it because that was going to be mine. And you know what? We are all about, being in sync here, seeing things, not necessarily seeing them the same, but, looking through the same lens, at least understanding where we're coming from. And I 100% understand where you're coming from, because before the episode, and this was what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Charvarius Ward is the X factor, because if you're paying him, you're literally paying him to be the X factor. And if he does what you think he can do, it changes the game entirely. But I can't just end the episode here and just say this is what it is. It's Charvarius Ward. Cut, print, sign the tape, moving on. There's so many names and possibilities, and because of this, Ant, I will make a change. I will shift here. I will shift gears. I will shift directions, and I will piss off Jason Hill. Hey, Jason, how are you doing? I'm hoping you're watching this right now, because Arik Armstead is going to be the biggest X factor for a lot of the reasons that you just said, Ant. The fact that those hurries last year were hurries and not sacks. Well, now you have Charvarius Ward. You have the guys to slow things down. There's no excuses. If you're the 49ers and you're building this front four a specific way, and part of it is the shift of Arik Armstead to the interior, then Arik has to elevate. He has to become a guy that can become the big sack number guy. He has to be doing the things that we saw from DeForest Buckner on the inside. Number one, he needs to continue to be great against the run, but number two, he has to be a dominating force there, because if he can't, it takes pressure off Kinlaw, it takes pressure off Ridgeway, it takes pressure off whoever that other guy is, and it continues to force teams to roll and rotate and send extra guys that direction, towards him, towards Bosa. keeping the pressure on that side and giving Samson Ebukams of the world, giving Charles Omenihu, giving the rest of that D-line the one-on-one matchup so the whole D-line can thrive. If Arik Armstead can continue to be the dominating force that we saw basically since the move to the interior and through the postseason, if he can be that guy for 17 games for the entirety of the 2022 season, then we're talking about a potential all-pro year for Arik Armstead. We're talking about the best numbers that we've ever seen from Nick Bosa. We're talking about potential for a bunch of turnovers for this 49ers defense. And Charvarius Ward being worth every penny that you spent on him because your D-line can get home in a big way.
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. I think there is potential for Arik Armstead to have a big year, and he could be an X factor. We know he was an X factor last year in the run defense.
Absolutely.
When he moved inside, that defense definitely changed, and he started keeping a lot of the bodies that were being able to, double team and then push to second level off of Fred Warner. So Fred Warner was able to operate at a higher level. So that impacted overall how the linebackers played the game. So in that regard, he's going to have a huge impact. And I think he could also have an impact on how Nick Bosa has played during the season. Because if Nick Bosa is being doubled and triple teamed the way that they were triple teaming Joey Bosa last year, we know that they chipped Nick Bosa a lot. If they continue to try to do that, but Armstead wins on the interior and Armstead is getting home consistently, they won't be able to do that as much. They'll have to make sure that some of the offensive line or one of the running backs is accounting for Arik Armstead, and then that could free up Nick Bosa to make big-time plays on the outside. So I think it's one of those things where it works hand in hand, the defensive line, to the linebackers all the way to the secondary. So you're right. I think Armstead could be an X factor on this football team, and he could go hand in hand with what Charvarius Ward is going to bring to this team, which could be a little bit extra time for this defensive line to get home and potentially some big-time plays. Could Arik Armstead and Nick Bosa start producing some strip sacks?
In a shocking turn of events, Ant, I went with the position that has been the most important for San Francisco since Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch took over, and you went with the position that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have, up until this offseason, essentially ignored. It was an afterthought. It was a position they were willing to be weak at because of the strength of the front, and now they've built both of these things up. They've built up their front, they continue to, and they've addressed the secondary and that cornerback position in a big way for the very first time in an offseason. And we're sitting here going, these are the two things that are the most important for the defense right now, which is crazy to think because of how strong your safety room is, especially with Jimmy Ward, and then what your linebacking core is with the three guys you have coming back.
Yeah, the front seven is probably the most ridiculously good front seven I've seen from the 49ers in a long time. This would kind of rival some of the hardball days where you had Justin Smith, Aldon Smith, and then, of course, Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis. That front seven's ridiculous, but you still had Isaac Sopoaga, and other guys along that defensive line, and the depth wasn't as good, as it is currently because you still had Mike Purcell and players like that coming in off the bench. That doesn't happen with this group. The way that they've built this team is fantastic, and that's why they have X factors all along the defense. We could have went with a number of guys. So we went Charvarius Ward, we went Arik Armstead. Both of us could have argued Nick Bosa. Both of us could have argued Fred Warner.
Easily.
That would have been easy for us to do Jimmy Ward as well and his versatility to do a lot of things in the coverage and then also playing in the box. So I think the 49ers have done a very good job of adding players that can make sudden impact on your team. I'm just hoping that between the two of these guys that we talked about, they can start creating turnovers. I think if the defense starts creating turnovers, that's going to take this team, like in 2019 where they started creating a lot of turnovers, from being a top 5, top 8 defense to the absolute best defense in the league and a championship caliber defense.
Absolutely. Championship caliber defenses and to win championships in a shocking turn of events. And this it is. And this defense definitely has the makeup and the DNA to be just that. They were almost that in 2019. They were almost that this past season. And they're looking to find the right formula to kind of propel this team and really carry the brunt of the work on their shoulders. Because if they can do that, it takes a lot of pressure off your young quarterback and an offense that is still, I wouldn't say finding their identity, but starting to find their groove. And if the offense isn't having to worry about putting up 40 points a game because your defense is holding teams under 17, 14, then you're in a really great spot if you're the 49ers and you have all season long to get into your groove offensively. And there's definitely the names. The names are here. We have all the pieces. We have the talent top to bottom. The question is now, is DeMeco Ryans in this group going to take that next step from defense that is solid, a top 5 defense in the league, to lock down, hands down, the best defense in all of the NFL?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. They still have some question marks. The second safety opposite of Jimmy Ward, of course. There are some that believe that's not a question mark. Others believe, the cornerback position is figured out, yet we don't know for sure who's going to start at the nickel corner spot.
True.
I think those are questions that still need to be answered. The good thing is they got a lot of talent along the way that can make some big time plays, and they got a guy that has proven in one season that he can pull the strings and make sure that he optimizes the talent that he has on the team. So I'm excited about what this defense could be, but I'm mainly excited because we have X factors like the ones we got. And you're right, the attention to the secondary that the 49ers paid during this offseason has been important, and getting a corner like Charvarius Ward is different than anything they've done. It's close to what they did with Richard Sherman, but Sherman was coming off an injury. Sherman was definitely a lot cheaper. They went out and paid top dollar for Charvarius Ward, understanding what a secondary player of his caliber added to this team. So I'm excited about the cornerback position, and it's all because of Ward. And I did not expect that move. We were kind of hoping it was going to be a big-time corner, but when it came down to it, we always just thought they're just going to go edge rush again. They're going to go defensive line again, but this time they didn't. They went ahead and they made sure they took care of the secondary, and I think overall that does make the defensive line better.
It does. It makes the defensive line better. It makes this defense better top to bottom. It gives them more ways for them to attack, different ways for them to craft their game plans, and being able to actually lean on the secondary now and put some onus on them. And hey, this is on you. This week is all about you being able to shut down. It ain't about the D-line getting to the quarterback. If they get to the quarterback this week, great. But if they can't, do your job. Do your job, and let's not have any hiccups or issues. It's been a while since we've been able to say that about a 49ers secondary.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there were times in 2020 where the secondary played lights out.
Agreed.
That defensive line wasn't as good as they could have been, but that was a healthy Jason Verrett and a healthy Emmanuel Mosley. Both of them are still on the roster, and you added Charvarius Ward as well. Hopefully, Verrett is healthy again, and then maybe we'll see, a top to bottom, really good secondary. I'm hoping that, because we haven't really seen a lockdown cornerback position yet. And if the 49ers get that, this defense could be crazy good. And they're going to need to, because these other teams in the NFC West and around the NFC and even in the AFC, they've gotten really, really good. It's an arms race out there, and the 49ers are going to have to compete with that.
And the shocking turn of events and offense has become an emphasis around the league, and the league is catering to offenses, and the Niners are building a very strong defense. So we'll see if that pans out in their favor. We'll see who the biggest X factor ends up being. And if we got it wrong, let us know in the comment section down below right this moment. Let us know who it actually is. If we didn't hit on this, and if you loved ours, then let us know as well. We appreciate the constructive criticism and the differences in opinion, as well as the pats on the back. Those always feel nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people are going to have different opinions on this, and I don't think there is a wrong opinion when it comes down to it, because a lot of these defensive players are going to have impacts, and just some of the ones we have question marks about could end up being X factors. Because when you're a question mark, if you pan out, that's big time for the defense, and if you don't, that's really going to be a struggle for the defense. So I'm curious who people end up saying. So let us know in the comment section. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely. We want to have a conversation with you, so let's have it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. Become a channel member. All that good stuff. Or you know what? If you're on the road and you don't like having the YouTube vids up because you're like, I want to peek down and see what's going on screen, then just throw us on Spotify, throw us on any of the traditional podcast platforms as well. You can listen to these sweet voices and listen to these episodes and not have the fear of picking up your phone and driving while watching YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to watch and listen. Take advantage of all of them, including the best way to support the program is heading over to Patreon, and subscribing there. And there's some exclusive content that you won't want to miss, including Slightly Offsides or Hit or Miss. Go check those out. Let us know what you think. So far, a lot of positive feedback on those two shows. More stuff to come.
Tons more to come. Tons more coming your way. We'll see you on the next one. Cutback Crew and the Faithful. And until that time, stay safe.
And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.